What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network and the Woodward Bets Show. I'm Scott G. Risen, joined again today by my boy, Detroit Beastie. What's going on, Chris?
Not much still. What a week 5 of football it was, but you got to have a thick skin and move on quick because we're already on to week 6.
I know. I can't believe it. I mean, we were sitting there in the studio, what week 2 or so, and doing our first show together, and damn, we blinked, and here we are. It's already week 6, but man, I tell you, I wish we would have had a crystal ball because, man, there's been a lot of stuff happening in so far this year in football. Obviously, NFL generally stands for no effing logic in my book, which definitely is coming true so far for this year. But really interesting show we're going to have for you guys today. We're going to get some news on some injuries of note that are pretty big so we can start working on our free agents today. And then we are going to get into some free agent pickups for the day. So get you guys ready for your waivers this week. Either they're on Tuesday or Wednesday, like always. We're going to break down a little bit of some NFL opening lines for everybody, have a little bit of fun, talk about some of these kickers and how they can't seem to make any kind of field goals lately. And then we're going to take a look at a little bit of baseball. Looks like we got some hot and heavy baseball action going, Chris. I don't know if you paid attention to any of these games, but man, that Red Sox team knocked out the Rays, which I thought was quite the surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. It was. Major League Baseball playoffs, it's such an odd occurrence. In a way, you can kind of see it laid out in front of you and go, well, I think this team is going to win, but it's in the details. Every pitch matters. Every pitch is like, the end of the world. And Boston knocking off Tampa Bay was something else, because if you look at like the wild card and everything, people were saying, well, look, Tampa Bay, they're not changing much. They're just going through it and they're winning, while all these other teams are spending a ton of money on their free agents and all this stuff. And I guess it didn't matter. Tampa Bay is out.
Yeah, they beat up that rookie a little bit yesterday when he came in. I think it was Fairchild. They got to him for a couple runs, but it was still exciting. They came back, and then the Red Sox pulled it out there at the end, which was cool. And then we had Monday Night Football, and damn, Baltimore's down. Actually, on the show yesterday, we did say, Chris, we had the Colts. I don't know if you got a chance to check it out yesterday. We were both on the Colts. We both liked the under in the game, and I gave out Jonathan Taylor as an anytime touchdown. He came through for us. He actually scored 2, but man, I'll tell you, looks like Lamar Jackson decided to put his team on his back yesterday there in that second half, and it was impressive. But again, another missed field goal, blocked field goal there, put that game, left that open there for them to get there, and got that 2-point conversion there at the end to Andrews. And, yep, pretty good game, I thought. It was exciting to watch, that was for sure.
No doubt. I know this is probably not wise. You could see on my phone, I had a parlay, put $25 on it. Jonathan Taylor, anytime touchdown. Hollywood Brown, anytime touchdown. The Ravens money line, and Lamar Jackson, plus, over 225 passing yards. So I put 25 down and I got back. I won $220.75. So easy peasy last night.
Yeah, heck yeah, that's awesome. I'll tell you, I got to take this second to brag a little bit. I normally do not play on DK, Chris. Like I said, I normally play on FanDuel 99% of my actions. So had to chuckle. I actually decided I was going to go on there, had a little bit extra cash in there from the showdown, and thought, I'll just build me a couple teams on baseball, threw it in there. I think I only had a couple $100 on it, but ended up smoking it for almost close to $5,000 yesterday on some baseball. So got me a little lunch money for today, but always fun to be in the green. Been kind of hot a little bit here recently with a lot of my bets and a lot of the DFS action. So make sure you guys are checking us out, because you don't want to be missing out. I mean, you're hot. You got to ride the wave. So, but yeah, a lot of fun. So looking forward to some today's action. We got a little bit of baseball later today. By the time this is played, we got 2 games going on here in the afternoon. But by the time this airs today at 6 o'clock, we will only pretty much have the Dodgers game going. But I think that Braves-Brewers game should be in about middle of that game. But Chris, what do you think of all these kickers missing all these extra points and field goals? I think it was 12 extra points and 12 field goals. Now, I'm not going to lie. I think I could kick an extra point quite easily, and I think I could kick a 40-yarder, and I'm almost 50 years old. I'm pretty sure that and I'm just saying, I'll put it on a tee, nobody rushing me, but I think I could boot one through the upright. I know I've had a few of my friends, we've been debating it, but I'm about ready to take my butt over to that soccer for a football field and boot one through. I'm pretty sure I can still do it.
You got to give it a shot. I remember over the weekend we talked briefly, and you said that you and Prince were going to try some new, let's make it a bet here. I don't know. I would imagine if Beers Maker was here right now, he'd challenge you to that. I mean, I'd love to see it. I'll show up. I'll film it. No big deal. But in terms of all these kickers missing, bouncing it off the upright, or I believe Rodrigo Blankenship missed a couple extra points yesterday. I don't know what the heck is going on, because if you look at, that's your job, right? A quarterback is to kind of lead the charge, get the ball where it needs to go. Receivers catch it, running backs, carry the ball, and that is it. A little bit more. There's a lot more to being a quarterback than all that. But kickers, that's what you do. A kicker isn't in on tackling drills. A kicker isn't, doing the hip swivel thing where the coach puts the ball and you cut this way. No, kicker is on the sideline with a net, or in real life on the other end of the field, kicking a football. That's all they do during practice. Punters punt, kickers kick. So to me, it is weird. And I know a lot of folks, that play seasonal fantasy sports in DFS, they don't like the idea of a kicker having that big of a like an interaction, or having that much to do with the final score. These two teams, they go to war for 60 minutes, and it comes down to, some kid kicking the ball. And if he misses it or makes it, that's the whole thing. So I don't think the NFL will ever do away with kickers, but I know a lot of fantasy teams, they've nixed it. And I know a lot of other folks that think, kicker shouldn't be a part of football. But again, a kicker, that's kind of the fabric of a football game. You kick it off to start the game. You kick off when there's points scored. So to me, I've never had any issues with kicker. Just a bad week for them boys. And I don't know what you do. There's not much you can do. Could you see a case in probably, 30, 40 years, or maybe even after you and I, Scott, are both dead and gone, where there's some sort of robot, quarterback, like Anytime Quarterback. Mm-hmm. Remember when we were kids and we play quarterback? There's some sort of robot in the game, whether he's kicking or throwing the ball, and then they're going to put chips in players' shoes to know if they actually cross the plane. I mean, we're headed down a wild road if we're going to talk, or if I'm going to talk artificial intelligence and football here.
We already have a robot playing quarterback. He's number 12 down there in Tampa. That's for sure. But, yeah, I forgot how many I saw. I mean, with all these extra points being missed, damn, if I was a coach, I think I'd pretty much just say screw it and go for 2 every time. I'd hate to say, but I would say I always thought it would be interesting after overtime, if the teams are still tied, I think they should take every starting offensive lineman, line them up at the extra point, and whatever their extra points, like soccer, whoever the ones that can kick the most extra points on the team should win the game. So I think that'd be pretty funny to watch them big fellas trying to kick some field goals. But
they do that in the summertime, like to end summer practice.
I'm sure they have.
They'll punt. The punter will kick to like a defensive lineman, and if he catches it, there's no practice the next day. And if he drops it, you got to stay extra. And so that's all fun stuff, but it's meaningless in terms of a win-loss record. This is all fun summer OTAs, but I mean, what we're doing now legitimately counts. So it's a tough move.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm kind of glad that DFS, FanDuel, and they got rid of them kickers. It was nothing worse than some kickers kicking 5-6 field goals and you losing out on your lineup because some kicker. But either way, they're gone. But Chris, I know we're getting into, I think hockey starts today. Today's the opening day of hockey. So, we're going to be looking at adding some hockey here to our programming. We really like hockey. Hockey's kind of like a niche sport in DFS. And Chris, I know you said you're pretty good at hockey. So we're going to be
Correct.
looking forward to that. And I'll tell you what, I caught some of the Red Wings a little bit, and just from the eye test, man, I'll tell you what, this Raymond kid and Sedler, they look really good, man. I think the Red Wings are the Yeiser plan, so called, that everybody's calling it, definitely seems to be on the right track. I think we might be onto something here and have another up and coming team, some similar like which I think the Tigers are in the same spot.
Yeah, they'll peak at just the right time. And with the Wings, I believe I even said this on a broadcast you and I were doing together, might have even been live in studio, where Detroit sports, you look through the entire history, the history of the Detroit sports, right? And right now we're kind of down, right? The Tigers played in World Series. They were pushing for pennants. They had great pitching. Same thing with the Wings. The Wings, when I was a kid, high school, growing up, they were very good. They won a ton of Stanley Cups, and right now, both the Tigers and the Red Wings, they're in a lull right now. But that's the ebb and flow of professional sports, and not only all overall, but also here in Detroit. So the Wings and the Tigers are they're at the bottom, not at the bottom, but they're kind of biding their time. And I think both teams will pop back up at the right time, and then we're going to be back in business in terms of the Tigers pushing for pennants and the Wings making the Stanley Cup playoffs. Right? They had they make the Stanley Cup playoffs like 25 years in a row, and then the wheels fell off. But in Stevie Yzerman, I trust. I know this guy knows what the heck he's doing as a GM. He split from Tampa Bay, and now he's here with the Wings. Stevie came home, so I have full trust in Steve Yzerman in terms of the Red Wings. But when it comes to the Tigers, I'm not too sure I have complete confidence in Al Avila. I don't. There was some times in the last few years I didn't know what the heck he was doing, but now he'll be coming up roses and all the decisions that he's making. I know that the pitchers, the young pitchers, are coming into their own. If they can get Torkelson and Riley Green up sometime soon to get it going, awesome. And I know what I've seen from Al Avila, I really like when he says, you know what, we're going to make a guy like Carlos Correa our number one, priority here. So to bring in some stud talent, some all-star talent to kind of mix and match with these young kids coming up. I think the pitchers, the young arms, are going to peak and hit their stride right at the right time, and you'll have some hitting to back it up here. So the needle is moving up for Detroit sports.
Yeah, for sure. And what a great time for us to jump on here with the Woodward Sports Network and get this Woodward Bet show going. I mean, there ain't nothing better when all our teams. We know this is a hell of a sports town, but it is still fun. I will say, man, over the weekend, Chris, I know you and I did the college football show, but hey, our two teams are still undefeated here in the state, so that's always fun. Michigan had to sweat it out a little bit more so than the Sparties. So, but it still was a lot of fun this weekend. But another thing we got going, Chris, we got an NBA around the corner. And I know our show sponsor, Underdog, is really big with a lot of the contests they have. I know they got kind of some best balls going on over there. They got this Week 6 best ball. But we're gonna let Beard tell you all about our sponsorship here with Underdog.
Let's talk about Underdog Fantasy. NFL season well underway, as we know. You can still draft a new fantasy team each week on Underdog Fantasy to win cash prizes. So basically a best ball format. You draft it, forget it. You don't have to mess with it at all. So it's not too late to get into the action. Through their slick mobile app and user-friendly site, you can join a league and draft a team in literally minutes. Plus, the folks at Underdog going to help you get started with a free $10. Who doesn't love free? So when you sign up, make your first deposit, use the promo code WSN. That's WSN as in Woodward Sports Network. So just go visit UnderdogFantasy.com in the App Store or the Google Play Store. Sign up with the code WSN. Deposit $10, and you get $10 free. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code WSN.
All right, Chris, we really appreciate it. But hey, everybody likes free money, so make sure you guys get in there. I mean, it's $10. Like I was saying the other day, BC, I don't know if you heard, but I was telling Beer, I had a buddy come over, showed me that he got on there on Underdog, used his free $10, and he won. He turned it into $110. He was all excited. He had a little parlay with some of the players. I think he had a 4 or 5 team parlay with some of the players with some player props. So he was pretty excited to hit that, and he was he was quite ecstatic. So he normally doesn't bet, and he probably would never bet $10. He's normally like a dollar. He likes to just kind of just fool around just to have a little skin in the game. But he was quite excited. So now all of a sudden his account's got 120 in there, and he's quite happy. So always like to hear those kind of stories. But Chris, one thing we do need to get into this week, it's Tuesday, so we got to get into our free agents this week. Let's just roll down some injuries again. I know we talked a little bit about it yesterday with everybody, but we got Barkley with that ankle. I don't know if you saw the picture on Twitter. It looked like someone put a softball on his ankle. That looked pretty nasty. If that was me, I wouldn't be able to walk for a month. But
I'd have to amputate if it was my ankle.
That's probably pretty close for me too. Daniel Jones had that concussion. We saw him kind of stumbling over the sideline. That was kind of scary. I don't expect him to get out of concussion protocol. Damian Harris has got some rib issues, so he may not be able to give it a go this week. Kenny Galladay had a knee injury as well. We saw Russell Wilson smash his finger last week. That did not look like that didn't look like that felt good. And then CEH has got a knee injury late in that game. That's going to be an interesting one. And then Sammy Watkins, who Beer gave out yesterday as one of his best bets, fortunately got hurt there real early in the game with a hamstring. Kind of took that bet out of play. Kind of tough when the injuries kind of bite you. We really can't predict those. But Sammy is on the injuries and note list too. And then our boy Quentin Cephas here in Detroit. Unfortunately, he's hurt with his collarbone. And then P. Ryan, I don't know if everybody heard, he is on the COVID list. So they're not sure if he is going to be able to make it this week. And then Juju hurt his shoulder. Looks like he might be done. So, man, it seems like every week we got 10 or so guys that are affecting our season-long teams. So definitely make sure you guys are active on that waiver wire. Chris, any of these injuries here affecting you at all?
Yeah, I just want to say it's already done and over. Juju is out for the season. He's having surgery, and so we missed out on Juju. We will miss out on Juju for the remainder of the season. One guy I want to mention, it's not from a DFS perspective, but it's Frank Ragnow here in Detroit. He's having some sort of toe surgery, so no Frank Ragnow for the remainder of the season. That also dropped not too long ago. But I know the Clyde Edwards-Helaire injury, it's not as bad as people think. More than likely, I think it might have already come out that Clyde Edwards-Helaire will not be playing next week. We'll see if it lasts longer than a week. And Russ Wilson, he actually had surgery on his finger, I believe, as early as Saturday, Sunday sometime. So no Russell Wilson for an extended period of time. You're looking at like 6 to 8 weeks here without Russell Wilson. So the naturally you ask, well, what does that do for DK? What does it do for Tyler Lockett here? We can, untangle that as we go here. But the one I want to mention would be there's two running backs really quick. They were both talked about in my DFS circles at least, and that was Khalil Herbert, the rookie in Chicago, with David Montgomery being out on the shelf, and now the U of M kid, Chris Evans. If Samaje Perine is on the COVID IR, obviously you have Joe Mixon, who was kind of a game time decision on Sunday, but he played well. Mixon played well. He found the end zone. Everything came up roses for Mixon. But to me, I love the idea of Khalil Herbert in seasonal leagues and Chris Evans in seasonal leagues. More so Khalil Herbert, and it doesn't even have to be that deep. I would say in a 10-team league, no need to grab Herbert or Chris Evans. But anything past like a 12-man league, if you want, some depth or bench spots, and given all the other injuries that going around, I could see a Khalil Herbert and Chris Evans being in the flex conversation in seasonal formats. In DFS circles, absolutely. I believe Khalil Herbert only $5,500 on FanDuel, and Chris Evans is not too far behind. So go blue, and that's what we do during the season. If you're a fantasy football player or a DFS guy or girl, we got to look for these little edges, and nobody on earth is going to be on Herbert in Chris Evans. I looked at their ownership right before lock, and Herbert was like less than 2%. Chris Evans was less than 1% owned. I would imagine that both are bumped up just a tad, especially Evans, backing up Joe Mixon here. But the rest of these injuries, it's tough. A lot of those are day-to-day. Some are week-to-week. And in case of, Russell Wilson, we're looking for him without an extended period of time, maybe at the tail end of 8 to 10 weeks here, Scott. So there's a lot to be done. And as you said, before I talked for 20 minutes, blowing out a lot of hot air here, you have to be active on the waiver wire. And I know a lot of folks, that's where they make their hay. If you didn't draft well or injuries, you have to play the waiver wire.
Yeah, I'm sure old Russ over there is babying it up and getting that beautiful wife of his to nurse him through that injury. I know I'd be doing the same. That's for sure. She is definitely I think of all the athletes' wives, she might be number one as far as just pure beauty. She's something else. But anyway,
he rubbed people the wrong way. Sorry to cut. He rubbed people the wrong way. There was a photo of him leaving the hospital in a wheelchair, and he had this big block, and his hand was up there, and he had sunglasses on. And he said there was some silly tweet, and people were just rubbed the wrong way. They started saying it's not like you had your leg amputated, or you're not like people were. It's social media. People are always jerks and mean. So what are you going to do?
Oh man, if my finger looked like his when it was done, I'd be pouting like a baby. I mean, damn, these guys are pretty damn tough. I mean, that looked like that hurt, man. I don't know. Some of these guys with these injuries, it's like we were just talking about Barkley. I mean, literally, it looked like somebody taped the damn softball on his ankle. It's like, how in the hell could this guy even come close to even thinking about playing? Like I said, I'd be done the whole season if my ankle looked like that. But anyway, you were talking about these free agents, Chris. I like that Khalil Herbert. There's going to be some guys here that we can run down, but Kadarius Toney, man, he came out, had a great week last week. We got a lot of injuries to that whole giant offense. So Toney is a guy that I think is going to be a top waiver priority. We got Devontae Booker, who is going to probably take over that role for Saquon Barkley over there with the Giants. He should be available in pretty much all the leagues. We got Amon-Ra St. Brown for the Lions here, wide receiver. If you think they're going to be down quite a bit, you need a receiver. He's not a bad guy to stash. I know we've mentioned Taylor Henke, a few times here, quarterback for Washington, but they do get the Chiefs. We've already seen everybody tear up the Chiefs, so it's kind of hard not to consider him. So he is definitely a great weekly streamer. We got Darrell Williams, who's going to be filling in for CEH in that same game. He's going to be available in quite a bit of leagues, so he's a top priority as well. And then Khalil Herbert, as you mentioned, Chris, I do like him. Especially with Montgomery out, I think he's going to get more and more of those carries over there. And then Alex Collins is a guy that Beer mentioned last week. He looked pretty good on Monday. I know you had talked about fading him, but he did not get in the end zone with 70-some yards. I think moving forward, Collins is going to be a guy that's going to start getting a lot more carries over there in Seattle. And then Hunter Henry, too, at tight end over there for the Pats. He had a pretty decent week. He should be available in quite a few leagues. And then just to kind of mention some weekly streamers, Chris, real quick, Ricky Seals-Jones is a guy I think you can use. Obviously, this week against Kansas City, he's a tight end there. And then two quick defenses. I kind of like picking on the crappy teams. Obviously, we know Detroit is one of them, unfortunately. Well, they got the Bengals, so I'll be looking at some Bengals D. And then we got Houston. They're another team, thanks to the bottom of the NFL. They got Indy this week. They actually didn't look too bad against Baltimore last night. And then we got Zach Ertz against Tampa. I really think they're going to have to throw, and they're going to be behind over there in Philly. So I really like that. But any other of these guys here that I mentioned, Chris, you got any interest in any of these other guys or anything to add on these guys here that I just ran down?
Yeah, absolutely. From a DFS perspective, in seasonal formats too, you can tell most times that there's a direct correlation between DFS and then seasonal formats. If you've ever written a DFS article, if these kids hit, then that next week that's a waiver wire ad. I love the idea of Devontae Booker playing the Rams. The Rams are 23rd overall against opposing running backs. He's under $6,000 on FanDuel, only $5,400 on DraftKings, and then again Tyler Heineke. Washington plays Kansas City. Kansas City is 31st overall against opposing quarterbacks. Heineke, $7,300 on FanDuel, only $5,800 on DraftKings. Two guys I would look to add in seasonal formats, and I've already plugged both of these players in my DFS lines. You know, as the week progresses, you can edit and go from there. And when it comes to Collins, you know, I did say fade him on Thursday, and I believed like in a FanDuel format, Collins finished with like 7.2 points. That's all right. I mean, he was, I believe Collins was the 11th overall scoring player in that Thursday night slate. I believe Matt Gay, the Rams kicker, scored more points than Alex Collins. And it was just a one-time kind of deal with fading him. If Russell Wilson is gone, you're going to have Geno Smith at quarterback. Chris Carson has never been the picture of health. He's going to be in and out of the lineup. So I would imagine Alex Collins is going to get a lot of run, but more than likely, he's probably already been scooped up given that he played on Thursday, waivers clear, and you go from there. What I like to do, you always double check the waiver wire. If you're watching a broadcast like you are now, or you read an article and you go, you know what Chris says makes sense, Alex Collins probably already scooped up. Don't assume that. Just go double check. There's no harm in doing your due diligence and see if Alex Collins is there. If so, you're going to add him. And really quick, Kadarius Toney, the kid showed a lot of promise, but I just can't get behind a dummy like that, a loose cannon. I mean, he headbutts somebody on the sideline. Granted, I could argue that was probably an accident, but he threw a punch to another guy in a helmet, and his wrist went limp. What are you doing, kid? You're young. You drafted first in the first round. You're getting all this play, and now he got ejected from the game. And now is Toney suspended for a game? There's surely going to be a fine. So a kid like Toney, I was never on him coming out of college, and I'm still fading him because I'm just not into all that character issues. If I play him, is he going to go off and trip somebody or punch someone in the face? And it's just too much for me. I'd rather shy away with a kid like that. Just too much character issues, and I'm just not a big fan of that. So personally, all in on Heineke, and I love Devontae Booker for this window that we can get him.
Yeah, I saw some highlights of that. I was kind of disappointed in the kid. I mean, it was like last night, that Monday night game. Yeah, sure, the guy, he smashes his face, the Baltimore guy's face into the Colts guy in the ground, and then next thing you know, he gets up and then he hits him, and that was the Baltimore player, and then they ended up getting 15 yards, and then they had a field goal shot. And actually, when they missed it, I was thinking that's kind of a crappy way to end the game, if that's what got them that, in position for the field goal. But as our boy Rasheed Wallace always said, ball don't lie, and that field goal did not go through the uprights. So was kind of glad for that. But I hate seeing stuff like that, especially when games are affected by that. I mean, us as sports bettors and gamblers, there ain't nothing more tilting than somebody do something stupid that cost you your money. I mean, it's just so tilting. And that's why we have our KMA segment. So make sure, hey, tomorrow we're going to have that KMA segment, Chris. If anybody's got anything they want to poke some fun at, something happened, or, hey, this Toney guy for the injury, or for that punching the guy like that, that's where we like to let it out a little bit, just let our frustrations out. So don't forget, hit us up over at our Twitter. And then also, hey, if you're watching this show on YouTube, hit that subscribe button right down there, that little red button down there below where you're listening. Hit that. And then while you're at it, hit that thumbs up button for us. Really helps us out a lot. But Chris, let's check out some NFL opening lines for this week. Like I said, I generally like to roll through these lines, kind of look at numbers and see what kind of numbers I like. Maybe I'll bet something up. Maybe I bet something down. Like I like to get through two of those important numbers, whether it be 3, 7, 10, 13, 14, something like that. So kind of got some opening lines here. Chris, is there anything that maybe you saw that you liked right away, or saw something here that probably is going to jump up, or is there anything you saw that stood out to you?
Yeah, first and foremost, I'm big into over-unders. I played those since I was a little boy when my dad would bring the ticket home from the bookie and we go from there. But in terms of point spreads, again, I'd rather play over-unders. And the first one that sticks out to me, you could see it on the screen there. Houston is at Indianapolis. The over-under is only at 43 points there. And, if you would have, asked me on Sunday, what's that looking like? I mean, I think that's drastically low, especially given what the rookie Davis Mills did on Sunday. Kid had over 300 yards, a couple touchdown passes, and then you take what Indianapolis did using Jonathan Taylor, a 72-yard, touchdown reception. So that just tells me that Indianapolis with Jonathan Taylor, or even Michael Pittman Jr., they can put up points in a hurry, like boom, in a flash, and they got 7 points on the board. Boom. Before you know it, they got 21 points on the board. And same thing with Houston. If this Davis Mills kid, I should say, is kind of figuring it out, if he can double down on a 300-yard passing day with multiple touchdowns, then I think the over in this smashes and it won't be fairly close. So to me, I'm paying attention to the Houston at Indianapolis over under 43 total points.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. And really, you look at something like that, you only need a short field, twice, maybe once or twice. So, I mean, Houston obviously is not that great of an offense, as we know. So, is it a situation here where it's possible that, maybe we get a turnover, a sack, fumble, or something along those lines that puts us in line, especially at them 42, 43 numbers? Those are really scary over-unders, just because at least if you're looking at going under, because all you need is one or two of those type plays, and then all of a sudden, you're sweating it out. You get a pick six, fumble recovery. But one thing I will say that really stood out for me was the Chiefs here, only -6 with Washington. I really think the Chiefs they're just gonna go on a roll. Even if it is 7, it come up on the screen. I've seen 6.5 in some spots. I just think the Chiefs are going to just probably smash Washington here. I really like the Chiefs in this matchup, and especially if you want to tease this one down to 1. There's no way, in my opinion, the Chiefs lose this game. So if you can get it down to 1, maybe. I don't normally like to do that, but I do feel this line could get up a little bit higher in the 7.5 and 8 range. So if you kind of wait till it gets up to that point, you're going to be able to dip that down and get it down a little bit where you keep under 3. So I think this one's going to move up. I think it's at a pretty low line now. I wouldn't doubt if this one jumps up a point or two as the week goes. Another one here that kind of really stood out for me too was the Baltimore game. I like to look at games, Chris, when we know that they've had a tough matchup. Hey, Baltimore just played on Monday night. They just came back, emotional win, late win there by them. So now they got to face the Chargers. Man, I think that's a tough task. So the Chargers, I really like the Chargers here on the money line. So I think the Chargers are going to pull this one out. So I'm all for the Chargers here, minus getting these 3.5 points or 3 points. I think this one's going to probably go down a little bit, but we'll see what happens here. But man, with Baltimore kind of struggling with the run game, I just don't see them beating the Chargers here. So really like that one. But is there any others you are standing out to you, Chris? And what do you think about the couple I mentioned?
Yeah, the Chargers, Baltimore, that's going to be a fantastic game. We see Justin Herbert he's a superstar. He's arrived. You can expect games from him like this more times than not. So I'm with you 100%. One more game I want to mention really quick. Seattle goes to Pittsburgh. And the over-under in this one is just as low as the previous one I mentioned. Over-under, again, Pittsburgh playing Seattle, 43.5 points here. I think, look at the spread. Pittsburgh -3.5, over-under, there it is on the screen. Thank you, Sawyer. But a lot of folks, a lot of casual betting people will say, you know what? It's not Russell Wilson. It's Geno Smith. The corpse of Ben Roethlisberger is going to be on the field. So we're going to have to bet the under. But I would tell you to hold your horses here. You know, Geno Smith came in last week after the injury to Russell Wilson, and he wasn't awful. He made some plays. He got some things done with his arm and with his legs, which was crazy. A lot of folks, you know, you looked at Geno Smith in New York as a Jet and said, oh, this guy he's awful. He's not going to do anything. And maybe that's what it takes. He is a good backup quarterback. And when his number is called, he can kind of manage stuff and get it done here. So to me, looking at this one, I have the over in this one, and I feel very comfortable about that. Not teasing anything. I'm going to play it as it is. I would fully expect a lot of folks just like me to bet this game up, and the line will probably go up a point or two. I could see a case where, you know, this time, you know, Thursday or Friday, we're looking at an over-under at about 45 or 45 and a half. We've talked about this in length, where you never see a line jump a full 2 points often. I think this game has all the makings to be bumped up a point or two, more specifically 2 points. And again, I was wrong about Ben Roethlisberger last week. I have no issue saying that. I thought it was going to be, you know, awful for Big Ben and the Pittsburgh Steelers. They played Denver, and they had their way with Denver. Pittsburgh won, and that was it. And Ben Roethlisberger didn't look awful. I thought after last week, people were going to be, you know, showing up to the Heinz Field with pitchforks and flaming torches, wanting Ben Roethlisberger out of the game, you know, done as their starting quarterback. But he hung on, and he did what he was supposed to do. So to me, this game is very sneaky from a DFS perspective. This game is very sneaky from a betting perspective. And I think this game is not going to go how a lot of folks think it is. So give me the over, Seattle at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I like that. But they did look pretty good, Pittsburgh being against Denver. And that's another team this week I was kind of looking. They get the Raiders. Obviously, with all this John Gruden news, him getting him resigning over there over these emails, decade-old emails. I mean, that's for another conversation, I guess. But, I mean, how focused are they going to be with all this distraction this week? And then they get a tough Denver team in Denver. Woo, they're only getting 3. That's pretty much, you know, generally what they would give teams as a home bump. So, I mean, Vegas pretty much has this game as almost even. I don't know. I just don't see it. So I think the Raiders are going to be in for a tough one here just because of all the distractions they have going on. So that one's definitely going to be interesting as well. But, you know, as I said, we mentioned a few weeks, you know, already a few weeks here. You know, if you like something, don't be afraid to get in there and bet it early. Bet it on Tuesdays. Bet it on Wednesdays. You know, generally when Sunday rolls around, that's when these lines have kind of worked themselves out. You lose some of the edge. You lose, you know, some of the advantage you get by getting in there early. So we saw a couple of them lines bump up by a couple points. So don't be afraid to get in there early and place your bet. You can always add to it if you want on Sunday. If you still feel, you know, you still feel good about it. You might get a couple different lines, but, you know, sometimes that point or point and a half that you save may be the difference. And where you may, you know, if you put $100 on both, you may win the one and lose the other, and it basically saved you on a push. I know it's happened to me, you know, quite a few times in my days of sports betting. But Chris, let's talk a little bit about baseball. So, I mean, tonight, when this goes, we're going to have some Dodgers and the Giants tonight at 9:07. The Dodgers are minus a 155, over under 8. It should be an interesting game. Last I looked, I don't even know if the Dodgers have called a starter yet or not. I think it's going to be more or less a bullpen type game. But the Giants got Anthony Descalfini going. He's not all that bad of a pitcher. I wouldn't say he's their top ace by no means. Looks like he was 13-7 this year, 3.17 ERA. Generally, he's around mid-80 pitches. We should get him from anywhere from 4, maybe 6 top. And then we're going to get that San Francisco bullpen, which is the best in the majors. And then Dodgers actually have the second best bullpen. So this one here is going to be interesting. Usually these bullpen games, a lot of people think, oh, you know, no starting pitcher. But all that means is these managers get to play matchups a little bit more So sometimes I think
Correct.
it's even cheaper to score some runs. So don't fall into that, where they don't have a pitcher. That just means Roberts is going to be able to bounce around a lot of these guys a little bit more during this game. So is there anything here that stands out to you? Is there any best bets? Is there any player props, anything like that that stood out to you?
Yeah, I think to be honest with you, I think they haven't named a starter, but I'm looking at Tony Gonsolin, right-handed pitcher, looks to be at least opening this game 4-1 throughout the season. He's basically, as you said, he's a long relief kind of guy, not their closer, not a starting pitcher. He's had some spot starts, and that's about it. So in terms of the betting here, I love the idea of putting all my chips on the San Francisco Giants here. I didn't even realize, maybe I shouldn't say this, live or on a broadcast. I didn't even know that San Francisco won as many games as they had. I believe what they win, 106 or 107 throughout the season.
Right.
I just been plugging them in my DFS lines throughout the year, and they've been making me a couple bucks, so there's no issue there. In terms of a best bet, I would go in on San Francisco, but I love the idea of a parlay here where you can get Buster Posey for like two hit. You can do that over under. Buster Posey for two or more hits, and then you can parlay it with Trey Turner stealing a base, things along those lines. So nothing really insane to me. I'm just going to be very creative with my player props, but I'm going to parlay a bunch of them together. So if you do, let's talk it out. If you do Buster Posey, 2+ hits, Trey Turner to steal a base, and then maybe you want to throw in Chris Bryant to hit a home run, I believe $10 would net you a couple $100 in that one. I have it, in my phone. I've made the bet, but I don't have it written down here. So it's very fruitful. Only $10 you can actually quadruple, triple, double your money there in that one. So again, I love the idea of Buster Posey to get a couple base hits. I love Chris Bryant to hit a home run. Looks like Bryant not set in stone yet, the lineup, but it looks like Chris will be batting fifth, Chris with a K, and then Trey Turner to steal a base, which means he would probably get a base knock too if you want to add that little razzle dazzle on the top there. So that's what I'm looking at this evening, Scott.
Yeah, I like the Dodgers tonight actually to win this game. So one of my bets here tonight I'm going to recommend is the Dodgers in the first half, the first 5 innings. So take the Dodgers minus a half run. I think it's like minus 105, minus 108 in most books. So I like the Dodgers here to get the DeScalfini. I think the Dodgers are going to be able to play the matchups, like I said, for the first 5 innings. So I'm going to go with that, where I really like that one there. And then, you mentioned Chris Bryant to hit a home run. I do like Chris Bryant. A guy that I'm going to recommend on the other side, Corey Seager. I really like Corey Seager today. So Seager for me is going to be a guy that I'm going to look at, probably maybe throwing in a same kind of game parlay, maybe at a plus. I think he's plus 360 to hit a home run. But like I said, for me, I really like the Dodgers here in the first half. But yeah, exciting. I mean, got some late games, especially too, Chris. Another thing to keep in mind now, just thinking about it, that game's going to start at 6:07 in Los Angeles. So they're going to have a little bit of a problem with the shadows as well in the first part of that game. So the shadows are generally really tough for play. If there's a shadow in between home plate and the pitcher's mound, it's generally really tough for the hitters to pick up the spin on the ball going through the different light. So that's something to keep in mind too. So maybe with that being said, I may have a slight lean on the under, especially in the first 5 innings as well. So I think it's going to be really tough for these hitters to see the ball in the first few innings. So just kind of keep that in mind. But Chris, is there anything we can add for the people here? I know we got our we got our
Sure.
KMA segment tomorrow. We always got our start and sit segment on Friday. Make sure everybody gets over there, follow our Twitters over at Woodward Bets. Make sure you get over there, follow Beastie, at Detroit Beastie. I'm at G Rising. Is there anything before we get out of here, Chris, you can add for the people?
Yeah, one quick hockey note. The Seattle Kraken play their first ever professional hockey game this evening, and they're playing the Vegas Golden Knights. So in this one, in terms of betting, I love the Vegas Golden Knights to just mop the ice with them. So realistically, I'm cool taking the Vegas Knights -1.5. I'm cool with taking the over 5.5 goals here. I just ordered a Seattle Kraken hat. It's a sweet logo. The colors are sweet, but their first game ever against such also an expansion team in the Vegas Knights, but we both know the Vegas can skate. They're good. They have some goal scorers there. So I just think just early on in the season, take advantage of matchups against the Seattle Kraken, as they're a brand new franchise. A lot of these players, obviously, they're from other teams while they're working it out on the fly. Take advantage. So give me the Vegas Golden Knights this evening, and I'm looking forward to hockey, professional hockey as a whole, but also looking forward to Seattle. Seattle finally has a hockey team. Congrats.
Oh, man, that's a good little nugget. I might have to get on that, add that to my parlay tonight. I kind of like that name, the Seattle Kraken. That's kind of cool. I have to see that hat. You'll have to get it on here, one of the shows. But all right, everybody, that's going to do it here today for the Woodward Bets Show. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Make sure you get over there, like I said, follow our Twitters, check everything out. For Sawyer Behind the Glass, for Detroit Beastie, I'm Scott. We're out. Have a good night. Thanks.